Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blender Ed, Blender HD. If you want to follow me on Twitter. And it's Friday, December 16th. And you know what we do on Fridays? We do a little bit of fighting. A little bit, maybe not in the YouTube chat, but we'll fight. We'll talk about the fights. We got UFC Vegas 66. Is it 66? It's something. It's a Vegas fight night card. Last card of the year for UFC. They'll be off for a month. They'll be 4 weeks. Three that you got. Okay, the 1, 2, 3. Yeah, for a month. So last time to play UFC DFS for a while, and we'll be going over the card for tomorrow. Give me those thumbs ups in the YouTube chat. You know how much I like the like buttons, the subscribe buttons. Wata, Suki Singh, good morning. Bart B, Kickstart, Daniel Hutchings. Yo. The card tomorrow is a different card than what we're kind of used to. Got 13 fights. Remember, the Julian Marquez Deron Wynn fight has been scrapped. Deron Wynn had some medical issue or something, whatever. So we're down to 13 fights, which is still fine. Which is still a nice size card, right? We're not down to 10 or 11 or anything like that. As Daniel Hutchins says in the chat, maybe the break will give DK time to get their act together. Yeah. If you're gonna do late swap, at least do it correctly, right? That's at the least you could do is don't unlock fights at wrong times and everything. So maybe they won't screw up this week. Maybe they won't. But this week is it's a much different card that we've had in the previous couple of weeks, where the inside the distance lines on a lot of these fights are not very good, right? We have a lot more wrestling, grappling based fighters on the slate. We've had a couple of past couple of slates where we get a lot of knockout artists and a lot of high ITD lines. And on this slate, not so much. I don't know how high scoring this slate's going to be. I mean, it is a 13 fight card, so you probably still need to find the top 6 scorers. But I mean, there's a lot of closer fights, especially in the mid range, that I'm not sure how much upside. Like, you could go through all the fights and see that there may not be the greatest of upside. Some of the popular higher owned fighters on the slate are actually going to be guys that may not get a finish, but may get a lot of points from wrestling. Right? We'll see that in the mid range. And then we got fighters that are more likely, like someone like Kopp or Oleg Jachuk, that basically need a knockout in order to get 100 points. So, I mean, it's quite possible you don't need 6 fighters to get 100 points in order to win tomorrow. So that brings up a lot of the dogs on the slate. Not many have very good ITD lines, but the win equity is there. I mean, because I look down the card and see a lot of fighters that are like, yeah, I could see them getting 90. Right? Like outside of a first round knockout or something, where it's like, okay, they could get 85, 90, 85, 90, you know. But as far as like, oh, who could put up 120 points? It's hard to see many that really do it on this slate. So I think leaving money on the table is an option, although I'm not even sure you need to do that. I think a lot of people are going to focus on the upper end and the mid range. And I think there's going to be a lot of lineups that you can make that are going to be fairly unique. Okay? I'm not saying that ownership is going to condense that much, but I think the construction is going to be very clear. Okay? So if we go just from a construction standpoint, I think from a high-end range, people are going to play Albazi or Oleg Jachuk. Albazi has more wrestling upside. He's 9,600 though. And Costa is a late replacement, but Costa is like, I don't know if Albazi is going to be able to submit Costa. Like, I don't think this may not be a quick fight. I think Albazi wins. He's what, minus 400 to win? But I think most people will play like someone in the upper range, right? They'll play someone like Albazi, and they're going to focus more on like this Fakhretdinov, right? And Kakramanov, right? Something like this in the mid-range, these wrestlers in the mid-range. I think more people will play Cannonier over Strickland in the main event. The thing about this main event is that from an odds perspective, we take a look at that 7,700. I mean, this fight is essentially practically an even pick'em matchup. But of course, the price discrepancy is Strickland's 8,500, Cannonier's 7,700. Cannonier has a better inside the distance line, but Cannonier is like a low volume striker. Like, he's not going to wrestle. He's basically, in order for him to get 100 points, even in 5 rounds, like, he's going to have to find a finish somewhere, a knockout or whatever. I'm not saying Strickland can get knocked out. Now, Strickland's not the highest IQ fighter. It'd probably be better for him to wrestle and use some. I mean, he's not a pure grappler, but he can. But we saw what he did with Alex Pereira, right, in his last fight. It was very clear that he should be grappling Alex Pereira, since Pereira has like no ground game, and he decided not to. He said, "Nope, I'm going to stand and bang with one of the best kickboxers in the entire world, now the champion." And he lost in a spectacular fashion. So who knows what he does with Jared Cannonier? But I think with the inside the distance discrepancy, I think more people are going to play Cannonier than Strickland. But just remember, Strickland has a higher floor. Like, Strickland's much higher volume. In a 5-round decision, like, it's quite possible that if this goes all 5 rounds and Cannonier somehow wins a decision, that Strickland may even outscore him with the 30 points. Maybe the difference in strikes. Although it's probably, I don't see Cannonier winning a decision, right? He's just too low volume. He's not going to score enough points. Like, he's not going to win enough rounds. So I think a lot of people are going to play Cannonier, and I don't think they realize, like, these guys in the Cannonier, Mahashate are much more, like, knockout dependent, even at their prices, than some of the other guys that are underneath that aren't that appealing from a finishing perspective, like Bobby Green or Alex Caceres or Damir Ismagulov or even Brian Battle up here at 7,900. So even if they win, like, it's like you may get, if they won a decision, maybe they still only get 65 points or something. I mean, you could probably find a winner underneath them that gets 65. I mean, I don't think this is going to be that high scoring of a slate. So people are going to make these builds. They're going to go Albazi, someone up here, Albazi or Olajaychuk, Fakhretdinov, Kakramanov. They'll play Cannonier, right? If they go down low, they'll probably play Corey McKenna, because she wrestles and she's fighting Cheyenne Villismus, or formerly Cheyenne Buys. So I think she's going to be popular as an underdog, but most likely she loses this fight. And then you have 92 left, and then maybe they play Jake Matthews. Depends on whether or not Jake Matthews decides to wrestle also. Like, Jake Matthews got a knockout his last fight, but he's more of a wrestling type. So I see these are the types of lineups that are going to be popular, right? Like 2 9K fighters, like 3 mid-range, 8K mid-range, and then like 1 dog, 1 super dog. And Corey McKenna is not that big of a dog, right? We see here Corey McKenna is plus 165, right? Then we get the plus 200s and below 7,200. And also, obviously, the McKenna Villismus fight is one of the fights that's more likely to go the distance, right? Plus 375 for Cheyenne, and Corey McKenna is plus 705. So there's a lot of fights that have like win equity, like these dogs, like the low variance fights. I just don't know how many finishes they're going to be. It's quite possible that getting 70 points from someone 7,200 or below will make the optimal lineup. And if someone gets even more than that, gets 100 in this range, they're probably good. You get 100 out of any of these underdogs, you're gold. I'm not sure how many people are going to put up 100 points. I'm really not sure. I think people may be attracted to Cody Brundage. They'll be game log watching. But I mean, that's a high variance fight. The Olajaychuk Brundage fight. I mean, that fight is the most likely not to go the distance, right? But then you have fights like Dvorak versus, who's he fighting? Arosa? Who's Dvorak fighting? Now, Dvorak Kopp? Like, Manel Kopp is purely boom or bust. He's plus 160 inside the distance. He doesn't do he's a low volume striker. Does he get the first round knockout or does he not? That's pretty much it. We also see with just how the fights are laid out throughout the course of the night, that actually the higher variance fights are early, right? I have this optionality rating score here. that I just did 10 to the 130. It doesn't really matter. The fights that are more likely to end inside the distance are early in the fight, early in the card, while like the main card, like it's quite possible we don't even see a finish on the main card at all. So if you need to swap off of people, I think there's going to be more ownership early than there is late, other than obviously the main event. But there are so many different constructions you can make that are outside of this framework. Like this is going to be the most likely type of construction, which means all this high 8K range is going to come in under-owned, right? And on a lot of the really low range is going to come in under-owned also. So like building lineups that if you just don't play like the top end of the 9K range, like if you play Arman Tsarukyan, I'm not saying that's a very high upside play, but let's say you start with like Tsarukyan, let's say you avoid, maybe you play Said Nurmagomedov against Kakramanov as like leverage, right? Let's say instead of playing, you play Brian Battle as leverage against Fakhretdinov. So you're still playing people like kind of in the mid-range, right? You play Tsarukyan, but then you play like a Rosa or Dober, right? 7,600. You don't even have to, really, you don't even have to play anyone that cheap. Right? You play Ismagulov while you're already playing Caceres. So maybe you don't play a Rosa here. Maybe you go up and maybe play Manal Cap. Maybe play Jake Matthews here instead. You have 7,200. Probably avoid Corey McKenna chalk. Maybe you play Dvorak. Maybe you play Ismagulov instead of Tsarukyan. I mean, like making this type of build where you're only playing one 9K fighter and then kind of avoiding the chalk in the mid-range. Like, I'd be light on McKenna. I'd be light on Kakramanov. I think it's a big step up in competition for Kakramanov. I mean, if he wins, he's going to win because of wrestling. And Said Nurmagomedov is like a non-wrestling Nurmagomedov. I know people like, they see Nurmagomedov and they go, oh, wrestler. It's like, no, he's more of like the spin kicks and punt. He has a wrestling base, but he doesn't really wrestle. But I mean, his takedown defense is probably up to par also. So I think a lot of people are going to play Kakramanov and Fakhretdinov. So playing Said Nurmagomedov or Brian Battle as leverage, I think is good. I think avoiding the main event, obviously. So it's quite possible that Sean Strickland could win in the third or fourth round and not put up 100 points. It's quite possible Sean Strickland could win a decision and not put up 100 points. Cannonier definitely. I think outside of the first two rounds, Cannonier's dead to 100 points. He just doesn't throw enough. Either he knocks Strickland out in the first two rounds or most likely he loses the fight. He loses the decision. He just doesn't throw enough. Daniel Hutchings says, my initial run is giving me very few lineups without the main event represented. Is it because of the price range? 8,500, 7,700? Oh, no. It's either because of the price range, because it's a pick 'em fight in the mid-range, and it's also due to the fact that the ceilings of a lot of these fights are quite low in general. So like 5 rounds of scoring, just from a floor perspective, it's got to be good. I mean, because a lot of these fights, truthfully, like Tsarukyan Ismagulov, I could see the winner putting up 68 points. Right? I could see a lot. Arosa Caceres, that goes the distance, 72 points. Dober Green, the winner gets what? 75 points. Like, it's just a lot of these fights. If Manal Cap and Dvorak, essentially outside of the first round, that's going to score like 80 or less points. Like, yeah, Albazi, he could wrestle his way to 100. Jake Matthews could wrestle his way to 100. Morozov could even wrestle his way to 100. Olajayja kind of needs a first-round knockout. Top needs a first-round knockout. Velismus, I guess, needs some volume. And these guys in the middle, I don't see Bobby Green getting knocked out, but, Dober Green ain't going to have any wrestling. Arosa Caceres, Arosa could implement some grappling, but he's not very good. Right? Tsarukyan could wrestle. It's just that Ismagulov, he's a wrestler also. Ismagulov's takedown defense, I don't see Tsarukyan having that much success. So who knows what the ceiling of that fight is. All the good fights that have a little bit more ceiling are in the mid-range. Rafa Garcia, Mahashate. Vakradinov battle. Kakramanov, Nurmagomedov. Like that's, and the kind of near Strickland. Like that's why a lot of people are going to be focusing right on this mid-range. So if you're going to play like a barbell style lineup and you avoid the mid-range, you're going to be contrarian. You're going to be different. But yeah, because of the limited ITD lines on a lot of these fights, yeah, the main event makes sense from a floor perspective. That the disparity isn't as great as opposed to like the card we had last week, where like most of these fights are going to be finished. Like if you have a 13 fight card and you have like 9 fights that are favored to end inside the distance, like there's more opportunities to put up 100 points in those types of fights that maybe the main event gets left out of being optimal. This dude, I could see the winning large field score being 610. Not even barely getting past 600. I could see maybe only 2 or 3 fighters on the entire slate putting up 100 points. But you never know. I mean, hey, there could be quick finishes. There could be a lot of wrestling, right? I mean, Jake Matthews goes to Takedown City, 12 takedowns, wins a decision, gets 122 points. I mean, that could happen, right? We get a knockout or 2 early. It can happen, but based on the betting lines, it's not as likely. But the higher variance fights are earlier, right? For the most part. Right, these mid-range for like, you're gonna know what's going on, especially the chalk, right? Because we got like the Vakradinov fight, that's the 3rd fight. Mahashat Rafa Garcia is the 4th fight. Nurmagomedov Kakramanov is the 5th fight. So basically, by halfway through the slate, a lot of the ownership is going to be gone. Then finally, the 11th fight is the Albazi fight, and then obviously main event's the 13th fight. So there's a pretty decent gap in between this Kakramanov Nurmagomedov fight, the 5th fight, to like the 11th fight, to really move around your lineups. Because you even got the Matthews fight after that. So like if you need to swap and get off of Albazi or Olajaychuk, and you have to come down and get like to be different, get Sarukian or a Rosa or Dober, and then move up some of the guys from the bottom that you have. You have Strickland in your lineup, and you move it to Cannonier, and you do something like that. To me, this is a good late swap slate. You could see what happens early, and then choose your lineups accordingly. But because a lot of people will have like more than half their lineup done halfway through the card, right? If we take a look, it's like even Corey McKenna. Okay, that's the 7th fight. So most likely construction of like Albazi in the 11th fight. So you'll have Albazi out and a main event fighter out, but you'll know the scores of all these mid-range fights. Then from there you could swap and do whatever you want. But I don't think playing all these mid-range fights together is the best option just from an ownership perspective. Like we went through that likely build. I don't mind one of these guys, right? You build like I even though obviously these higher 8K fighters are worse plays compared to ownership. Like I don't even believe some of this ownership. Like we have it very flat here. I don't think it's going to be that flat. Right? I think Albazi and Olajaychuk will be 35 to 40% owned. And then Marazov will be like 20, and Matthews will be 26. But like Kopp will be like 18, 16. Velismus will be 10. Sarukian will be 12. Arosa will be 16. Dober will be 18. Like it'll be like just this range right here is just going to be, I think, is going to be carved out. Then we have to assign more ownership to this mid range and to like the mid 7K range. The guys on the very bottom, I don't think are going to change that much. The Cannoneer is by far going to be the most owned dog, just based on the money, just its money line value. Right? We could go to FightOdds.io and let's see what it's up to. I'll reload this. Yeah, I mean it's a pick'em. We just take a look across the board here. Right, -110, -110. It's a total pick'em. It's an 800 price difference. But just realize from a fight style perspective that Cannoneer has no ceiling outside of a knockout. Strickland at least has volume. At least Strickland could mix in some wrestling. Could. I don't think he does, but he could. So from a ceiling perspective, I mean, Strickland has multiple paths to get 100 points at least in different ways. In a 5-round decision, in a 3rd-round stoppage, stuff like that. Like Cannoneer's gonna land like 10 significant strikes around. Like he's not gonna do much. Right. Imagine he gets a third round finish, Cannoneer, with let's say 40 significant strikes. That's 16. I mean, like what are you scoring there? 61 plus the knock, that's 71 points. Like I don't think that's gonna be enough for 7,700. Someone underneath it is gonna score more than 71 points. That's why I'm gonna be much lighter on Cannoneer. Like I'll take a shot on Bobby Green. I mean, Bobby Green could. I mean, sometimes he puts out 150 significant strikes. A lot of them are going to knock you out. But Bobby Green is going to, go around, talk some trash, and throw out these little jabs that get counted. Like Bobby Green could win a decision and get 85 points. I mean, Alex Caceres could do it. Sure. Why not? I mean, like, I feel like outside of the first 2 rounds, Cannoneer is I don't know. Is he worth 40+% ownership? For a knockout, yes, he is the best ITD line amongst all the underdogs at +210 currently, or at least as of yesterday. I mean, same thing for Mma Dfs. I mean, Mma Dfs, this Chinese regional fighter. I mean, he beat Steve Garcia. Steve Garcia is awful. He's facing Rafa Garcia, who's not great either, but Rafa can wrestle, and I don't think Mma Dfs, we've not seen Mma Dfs even be on the ground at all. He's had like a total of like a minute and a half cage time in the UFC. Mma Dfs could be complete dust. Right? I mean, essentially, Steve Garcia just ran into a punch, and Mma Dfs won. So I'm not sure how good this guy is anyway. And if he's going to be 20+% owned, 25, he's going to be, because he's +250 inside the distance. The thing is that the only way for him to get 100 points is a 1st-round knockout. I mean, that's pretty much it. He's not going to wrestle, right? He's not going to. It's not like he does much. I'd much rather play Rafa Garcia for leverage than play Mma Dfs. So I think the construction is very clear. So that's why I'm trying to avoid playing those type of constructions. The problem is you still probably need to play someone in the mid-range. And the someone that I play in the mid-range, I'd rather be against a popular fighter than eat the chalk in the mid-range. Because these fights are close enough as they are. Right? Oh, you can't fade Renat Fakhretdinov. It's -145. We're not talking someone that's like oh, he's a 5-1 favorite. Like, dude, it's 60-40 at best. But people are going to be attracted to that. Because it's easy. It's easy to figure out. Just like with Corey McKenna. Yeah, she has the highest ITD line, +705. But of course, she could land 6 takedowns. And I mean, she could get 90 to 100 points in a decision. But she's also the underdog here. I mean, Cheyenne is almost a 2-1 favorite. Good floor, right? If this goes to decision, I mean, look, Cheyenne's only +375 inside the distance. This fight most likely goes to decision. Now at 9,000, Cheyenne probably ain't going to put up enough to be worth it in a decision. McKenna can. But at 26% ownership or something, what happens if she loses? And she's sitting there with a nice floor. She has 54 points in a loss. Right? If she would have won, it would have been 84. that's avoidable in my opinion. I'd much rather take a shot on Semmelsberger getting a knockout or Brundage getting a knockout or any of these guys. Newsom, Dvorak. I mean, who knows? Dvorak has no chin, but I mean, if he's facing Manel Koppen, it's not going to be on the ground. I mean, lucky punch. There you go. Dvorak knockout. Yeah, they're much more risky. You feel so much better with Corey McKenna in your lineup. So, okay, at least she's going to go out. It's going to be probably 3 rounds. She lands 2 or 3 takedowns. Maybe she loses. But I get 50 points or something. Oh, okay. Same thing for Cannoneer. It's like okay. I'm going to take the guy with the best money line odds in the ITD line for that price, and if he doesn't get the knockout, okay, 42 points and a decision loss. Oh well. I think the opportunity cost of these fighters down here is not that high. So like, I'm going to play Damir Ismagulov instead of Corey McKenna. Oh, you can't do that. Why not? Is Corey McKenna going to go out and put up 130 points? Probably not. Like, what am I missing here? There's like no one that you need to have. Like, I feel like there's no one on this card that you need to have at all. Where it's like, no, I got to play this guy in all. I'm going to be playing 6 lineups, and I'm going to be playing him in all 6 of my lineups. I don't think there's anyone like that on this card. Daniel says he's planning on only playing the large field contest tomorrow because it can't be around for the whole slate. Right, just aim for the optimal and hope for the best. Daniel says he's getting a healthy amount of Bobby Green. Yeah, Bobby Green, I mean, he's likely not going to get a finish. But at 7,600, I mean, he's plus 132. I mean, Bobby Green could get 80 points, no problem, in a decision against Drew Dober. I think they both have the similar ceilings. There's going to be no wrestling here. It's just going to be stand up and trade, and Bobby Green will yap his mouth and talk the whole time. But I think getting 80 points out of anyone in this range, it could be fine. You get 80, 85 out of any of these guys that are lower than Cannoneer. I think that may be fine. I mean, we may see winning scores that are like, if I had to predict, I think the main GPP winner is going to be like 628 or something. Like, that'll be it. That'll be the top score of the whole slate. The optimal will be like 628 to 614. Well, there'll be 1 or 2 guys that put up like 110, 115, and then there'll be there'll be a bunch of people that put up like 90-ish, right? There'll be like 6 people that put up somewhere between 87 and 95 at different price points, and it's just a matter of which 4 do you have plus the 200 plus point guys, and that's it. And that's the winner. So I'm not prioritizing finishes. I'm just prioritizing it in the low range is winning compared to their ownership. And then on the top range, I care more about the finishing upside. That's pretty much what I'm doing. What are you doing? What you should be doing is giving me the like button. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. We got the MMA Ground and Pound podcast coming out later today. I wasn't on it, but Mike and Liam, they break down all the fights for you. That's a premium product. So sign up for RotoGrinders Premium. Get the combo premium package. You get everything. You get NFL, you get NBA, you get NHL, you get PGA, you get MMA, you get World Cup soccer, EPL soccer. You get everything. So click on the link in the description. Get $10 off your first month. The combo premium package. You can listen to that. I'll have the NFL, the Game Theory show. That's a premium show also. Me and Tuttle will be recording that at 2 o'clock the afternoon Eastern. And so that'll be out around, maybe 4 or 5 later today. But we still got plenty of free content on the channel. We got the solo ship show. We got the tournament takes. We got tons of stuff here on YouTube for you. So hit the notification bell. You'll always know when we go live here on the channel. We got NBA Grinders live later today, Crunch Time. We got everything. We got everything for you when it comes to DFS, right? And sports betting. If you go to the Scores and Odds YouTube channel, you got plenty of stuff there as well. So go there, hit the subscribe button. And we'll get the last UFC card of the year. Then it's a month off. Then on Fridays, we'll be back to casual Fridays, where we're just going to be just casually talking about whatever you want. Because I'm always here answering your DFS strategy questions Monday through Friday at 11 o'clock Eastern on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.